Well, Bernie Sanders is about to burn the joint down. Welcome into your late night Friday night stimulus update. Bernie Sanders, yes, Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont, is about to hold Congress hostage and demanding $1,200 stimulus checks, or he's going to tear the whole place down, basically. We'll get to that in a moment. We're also going to talk about some big news on student debt cancellation and President Biden being pushed to wipe away all student loan debt. Two big stories on this Friday evening. Welcome into the show. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. Hey, it's free. It's free for you to do. Thank you so much. All right, let's dive into it. Stimulus update time. So some moving and shaking over the afternoon here. Senator Rand Paul out of Kentucky saying that he will not withhold his vote to keep the government from shutting down. So he will allow this defense spending bill to move forward. Therefore, we should not likely have to hit that Friday midnight deadline of the government shutting down, federal spending ending. It's kind of funny that they were even going to be voting on a resolution to keep the government open by trying to shut the government down. Like, doesn't make any sense. But that's Congress for you. But looks like that will move forward. And our best and last hope, really, of getting a stimulus package together is if we are combining these two things that are happening right now. And it's like the stars are aligning for Bernie Sanders right now, who earlier today took to the Senate floor and demanded that $1,200 stimulus checks be a part of this package. Otherwise, he is going to not vote for keeping the government open. He will put his foot down. Now, here's the thing for the continuing resolution to be brought to the floor of the Senate. Mitch McConnell needs 100 senators to approve it for this budget. 100 have to be on board for keeping the government open. And all of these members of Congress can now use their leverage, and they are. And that's exactly what's happening. So Bernie Sanders, just a short time ago, releasing this video and saying he wants to thank all of the people that are working so hard, but we need to get these $1,200 stimulus checks out to you, the people that are the frontline workers, the people that are out there working so hard and need this money now. Listen.
Let me thank everybody who is working so hard to make sure that Congress provides direct payments to working adults and to their children in any COVID relief package. I don't have to tell any of you that for the working class of this country today, these are very, very difficult times. People are struggling without jobs, without income, worried about eviction, are worried about paying for health care, are worried about putting food on the table for their kids. They need help. This is an emergency, and Congress has got to respond. So thank you all very much for your help in getting support for an amendment that I have just offered, bipartisan amendment, which says every working class adult gets $1,200 and their children get $500. We have got to do that. We cannot. Congress cannot leave Congress without that. Thank you all very much.
Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, adding that amendment that he worked together with Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican, bipartisan movement on this thing. Now, we talked about this earlier on the live show in the morning. Yes, we do a live show every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, so be a part of it. We talked about this amendment. However, now it's growing because now it's being tied to the government shutdown bill, the government funding bill. So let me go through this a little bit. I mean, this is why this deadline is so important. Here's the headline: COVID-19 relief talks at a critical juncture amid looming shutdown threat. Now, to get a deal done by next week, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell need to come to terms quickly, but they aren't even talking with one another. And they're back and forth, bitterly trading barbs, back and forth, blaming each other, and of course, back and forth. There's enough blame to go around. Mitch McConnell for dragging his feet all summer, Nancy Pelosi for not accepting that $1.8 trillion package before the election. They're both to blame. But right now, Mitch McConnell cannot get his Republicans in the Senate on board with a stimulus package. And that's why we have this impasse right now. This is not Nancy Pelosi. She screwed up before. This is Mitch McConnell's screw up right now. So Friday, of course, is turning out to be an absolutely critical day, both on the COVID relief talks and to keep the government from shutting down. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because this would be the fourth time in President Trump's presidency that the government would shut down. Not a good track record. At midnight, the government will shut down absent an agreement for a quick vote on a funding bill to keep federal agencies open for another week, because any senator can object to a quick vote. And McConnell needs support from all 100 senators to continue this resolution, or what's known as a CR, to keep the government funded until December 18th. So at midnight tonight, like, basically, we need to get, Bernie Sanders is telling them, get this involved or I'm not, hey, I'm happy to shut the government down. Bernie Sanders, for his part in all of this, wants a $350 billion bill that he's crafted with Senator Josh Hawley, Republican of Missouri, to provide a new round of stimulus checks, $1,200 for individuals. He wants a vote on that immediately. Asked if he would let the continuing resolution come up for a quick vote if he doesn't get a commitment to the bill to be considered. Sanders just said, let's play it by ear. We will play it by ear. I will do everything I can to make sure that we do not leave here unless that bill gets passed. So, yes, Senator Sanders, good for you. He's holding the Senate hostage in order to get $1,200 stimulus checks through for you. Imagine what could have done with this guy as president. I'm serious. Sad that mainstream elites, big money elites had to push him out in favor of these moderate Democrats, these big money Democrats. But, you know, that's another show. So GOP leaders are blaming him for holding up the CR vote. Sanders fought back on this and said, they can blame me for anything they want. But people back home by the millions are going to be blaming this Congress for inaction, for leaving their children to go hungry or get evicted. That's where the blame lies in Congress. He said, we got to allow these votes to happen today. So there you go. Senator Sanders is pushing for a vote immediately on stimulus checks. Forget the other larger $908 billion package. A stimulus bill directly for just stimulus checks, that's it. Put it out there, vote on it, get it done. Who disagrees with that? What members of Congress disagree on that? There was bipartisan support for this earlier in the year. Both sides, even the president wanted larger stimulus checks, even bigger than what Democrats wanted and Republicans wanted. Mitch McConnell agreed to stimulus checks. Why is this such a hang-up all of a sudden? Senator Sanders tweeting just a short time ago saying, these are very, very difficult times for working families. I want to thank all of you for helping getting Congress to support my bipartisan amendment to provide every working class adult with $1,200 and $500 for their kids. Congress cannot leave without doing that. Of course, sticking points right now at this hour, one big problem, most GOP senators detest aid for state and local governments. They do not want money going to state and local governments. That is one of the biggest. And I still don't wrap my head around this. When you have Republican governors saying, we are dying here. We are in trouble. It's not blue state bailouts. It's both. It's money for sanitation workers where piles of trash are piling up now. Teachers, because we're not be able to collect a lot of property taxes right now because people can't pay their mortgages. And where does that money then come from? It's got to come from somewhere. It's got to come from the federal government right now because they're not bringing in the tax revenue that they might otherwise be bringing in. So these states are demanding help, and governor and GOP members are saying, well, we detest that. We don't want to have anything to do with that. And then, of course, the other still big sticking point is this liability protections for businesses, workers, universities, and other entities threatened by lawsuits during the pandemic. That's a huge sticking point for Democrats because they don't think that these businesses should get any more leeway in hurting workers' rights. So right now, McConnell's saying, let's ditch both of these items at the moment. Let's ditch both of these things. We're not just going to try to thread the needle here, he said. John Thune, a Senate Majority Whip, says, maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but we've got to get some of these pieces off the table in order to get this agreement done. He said, I'm optimistic that we can still work out something, get these two provisions. We had a good meeting today with additional discussion, so I'm not ready to give up on removing those two items yet from the pile. Nancy Pelosi has said that they would extend the House into Christmas week if necessary. So she said, I'm happy to keep them here to get this done. But time is running out. And of course, going through this legislative process takes a number of days, especially if they don't get cooperation from the Senate on this, which they almost certainly won't at this point. There's another big storyline that I'm following for you today, and that is the latest on the upcoming battle over the student debt cancellation. So if you've been watching my show for any length of time, you know how much of an albatross I think student loan debt is in our country. It's destroying the future of children's futures, coming out of college being saddled with $100,000 in debt for degrees that aren't even worth half of that. shouldn't be spending that kind of money at all on a student for student loans. Well, now President-elect Biden will be able to cancel nearly all student loan debt without congressional approval on day one. He doesn't need Congress. Charles Schumer, the Senate minority leader, has been calling for this. He wanted 50,000. I don't even, why 50? Why is that an arbitrary number? 50,000 would be amazing and transformative. Just wipe it all away. And it would wipe it away for those making under $150,000. So that would be the limit. $150,000 and below is what this student loan removal would look like. But there's a battle unfolding right now over this. Donald Trump has said that he will leave the White House. Finally, he's admitted he will. But the troubles, of course, will be far from over. One of the big issues facing students right now, of course, is student loan debt. As we enter January, at the end of January, that moratorium on student loan deferrals is over. So all of this sort of kicking the can down of not making payments ends on July 31st. And that's why all it's doing, that deferral doesn't really do anything. It just pushes off you having to pay for a few months. But a Biden presidency could immediately reverse that. So on the first day of his administration, Biden can issue an executive order to immediately cancel 92% of student loan debt, even if Republicans retain control of the Senate. Biden has the legal authority to liberate 42 million people and their families from the burden of student loan debt. I hope they even go further and tackle credit card debt. That would be transformative. But let's get one step at a time here. Nearly a year into the pandemic, student debt cancellation may not be the most urgently needed relief, but it is one of the most effective and immediate economic stimuli that Biden's team can put forth. I mean, think about it. If he chooses not to enact it or cancels only an insignificant amount, student debtors are getting organized basically to go on strike. As Americans enter this holiday season, the U.S. is expecting high unemployment rates, widespread food insecurity, and an uncontrollable spread of the COVID-19 in nearly all 50 states. And this, according to a new report that I'm reading, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has forecast that some 60,000 people may die from the virus before Christmas. So this debt collective union has advocated for the president to cancel all federal student loan debt by executive order, circumventing Congress. Of the $1.7 trillion in outstanding student loan debt, 1.5 of it is from federal student loans. And $131 billion is from private student loans. Huge difference here, right? So federal student loans wiped away. The Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, has extended President Trump's executive order, which would pause payments and collections and interest in federal student loans until January 31st. But according to research by the Project of Predatory Student Lending, in collaboration with the Debt Collective, Biden can issue an executive order on his first day, instructing the Department of Education to suspend collection of the debt using its authority to compromise, waive, or release its claims over student debtors, which is granted to the department by Congress of the Higher Education Act of 1965. So student debt cancellation has gone from being just a demand of activists at Occupy Wall Street to the political mainstream. When you have Senators Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren and a letter signed by 235 organizations calling on Joe Biden to do this. Joe Biden said he supports legislation to cancel some, but not all student loan debt through this legislation, but not by executive order. So right now, Biden, he doesn't sound as sure of himself on this as we would hope that he would be. He wants legislation, which means you need Congress, because it's less messy, he says. Okay. But what if you don't win the Georgia runoff elections? What if Democrats don't gain control of the Senate? Mitch McConnell is never going to vote for this. He's never going to bring this to the floor. So it will have to be done by executive action. The authors of this research said that canceling all federal and private student loan debt could boost the GDP in America by an average of $86 billion to $108 billion per year and create roughly 1.2 to 1.5 million new jobs per year. It's remarkable. We're wiping away the vast majority of student loans outstanding. But again, I think that this is a Band-Aid solution. That's great that they wipe this away permanently, but we need free public college. So wipe this away, institute free public college, which is something that President-elect Biden supports. And then that would be transformative for America. You want to make America great again? Actually, not again. Want to start making America like other countries that actually handle this and take care of its people? Free public college, stimulus that takes care of its people, like Canada, like Europe, like Australia, all of these other countries that provide healthcare, stimulus, wages subsidized, and free college. So why don't we try to make America great for the first time? That's how we could do this. And we could do it through this massive reversal of student loan debt. But they're prepared to strike, this debt collective. If President Biden doesn't do it, you're going to hear from them, and good for them. They'll take it to the streets and demand that he does it. And Elizabeth Warren has been going after predatory credit card companies and lenders for years. She's not going to give up on this. And hopefully we hear more from her on this issue, but this is something he could do on day one that would be transformative. Let me know your thoughts on this. Should the president remove all federal student loan debt? Drop me a comment below. Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter. We publish it every morning, first thing in the morning. So you can download it, read it over your cup of coffee first thing in the morning. Just go to morninginvest.com. It's very easy to do, morninginvest.com. And you can read it in about 5 minutes with some humor and your cup of coffee. Covered the biggest progressive business stories that I think are important for you and your family. Much love to all of you. We will see you back here once again. Take care.